Good Saturday morning, everybody. Hi, I'm Terry Fender, your ARBA District 8 Director. This morning, we start the first of two consecutive KV workshops. This morning, we're joined by Judge Faith Storms of Maryland, and she's going to speak on preparing your KVs to show. I'd like to ask everybody that's viewing us today, feel free to chime in on your comments on Facebook. We'd love to know where you're from, city, state, province, all that good stuff. It's always great to hear from our viewers where you're located. Also, any questions you might have, feel free to type those down as well. And Amanda at our control center will read those off to Judge Storms at the end of the presentation. So we're glad to have Faith with us this morning. So with that, Faith, take it away.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a little talk on preparing your KVs for show. So first thing is the practical. If you want to enter a show, you need to enter the show. So I thought I would just quickly review how to do that. And in this digital age, we often do things online or through email, but I have an example of an entry form. And the entry form, at the top of the form, you need to put your name, your address, phone number, email, and then the important thing is your animal's information. It's really important that you have complete information for the show secretary. Otherwise, you might be in the wrong class, or you might not get in the program right, or you won't be on the paperwork. So on any entry form, you're going to see they want an ear number. So for Cavies, that's a tag number. For rabbits, it's a tattoo. They want the breed, so you need to know what breed of Cavie you have. Variety, that's the color. And with Cavies, some of the colors are grouped, so you need to know what show category your particular Cavie is in. And use your standard of perfection. And each breed breaks down the varieties differently into show categories. For instance, let's see, any other marked is a variety in Americans versus broken colored, and broken colors are in the any other marked, but with long hairs, broken colors are their own. So just check your standards so that you enter your variety correctly. Then they want class. And class and sex. So class would be junior, intermediate, senior, and sex would be boar or sow. So on the note of the ear tag, I am going to show you how to ear tag a Cavie. Now I know some people are feeling comfortable about tagging a Cavie. I'm going to show you how to do it all by yourself. Over the years I've had Cavies. I've done all the handling and managing and tagging and etc. on my own. So I've had to develop, like, I don't have somebody to hold the Cavie while I do whatever. So I've had to come up with methods that I can use with my two hands. Fortunately, I'm blessed to have two functioning hands, so I'm using two hands. So what you want to do, and I'm going to get a little Cavie out. Let me find my, okay. I'm going to start with who I hope will be the calmer one. So here's the little ear tag. Whoops, let me show you. So here's the little ear tag, little tiny tag, and it's got little tiny numbers on it. I always advise people, make sure you look at the number before you put it on the Cavie, especially if you're entering, or if you're tagging them right before a show. And here are the ear tag pliers, I'm sorry, they have a little spring in them. So what I do is I always insert the ear tag in the tagger, and the spring holds it. So you can insert it. And the way, there's a little divot and there's a little hole, because the sharp end is going to pierce the ear and go right through that little hole. So you want it placed in the ear tagger pliers like that. Okay, so I always get that ready, and then I get my Cavie out. Here is the Cavie. He is a silver solid American, and he is a senior, and usually they will be tagged when they're much younger, but because of situations this spring. I never took him to a show, and then the pandemic happened. So he just never got tagged. So he's going to get tagged today. And what you do is it's in the Cavies left ear. And how I always remember this is if you're going to register an animal, the registration goes in the right ear. So R is for registration, which means the identification tag goes in the left. So what I do is I just hold them up against me. I'm going to come closer. Okay. So I hold them up against me, just up against my chest. And if you see, I'm putting his little face, or his big face, between my first and second finger. I do this because years ago, I didn't hold them like this. And if they jump, they can rip the ear tag out. So this way, I have a hold of their head. They're not going to jump and tear anything. And I can use my thumb to kind of flatten out the ear. You want to place the tag as close to the head as possible. So you want it high up. Do not put it down here in the middle. They will rip that thing out. They'll scratch it out. So you want it up high on the curve of the ear, the top curve of the ear. So I've got full control of him. And then I just take the tagger. Hopefully you're seeing this okay. And then you just place it. Now, since he's a senior, I don't need to leave any room between the ear and the edge of the tag. And then just quickly press down, release, and there he is. He's tagged. So as you see, hopefully the little edge went through the hole and turned over. So he is well tagged. And he is 651. Okay. Okay, so that was one tag. Now I'm going to do it one more time just to show you again. So again, you place the ear tag in the pliers, and then you go get your little pig. Okay. All right. Now this guy has a little jump ear, so and he may squeal. As you saw in the first guy, he did not even make a noise. This little boy might make the noise. Oh, maybe not. So again, you just hold them comfortably up against yourself, make sure they're secure. Put their got his little head, he's not gonna jump. Got his little ear there. Got your pliers, position, and he's fully grown too, so I don't need to leave room. Now he's kind of folding up his ear a little bit. So I'm taking a little more time to find the right spot, and then quick, cramp, quick, and then release. And he didn't even yell. Sometimes they yell, and there he goes. So as you can see, it's real close up to the head. So there's a lesser chance of him tearing it out. And now he's tagged, and he would be ready to go to a show. Okay. All right. And I have a little checklist, so I'm going down my checklist to make sure I cover everything. Okay. So once your guinea pig is tagged, that's awesome. And now you need to tend to how they are groomed and what their coat condition is. Now the body condition, you've hopefully already been feeding them well. So, you know, you can't fix coat flesh condition in a day, but coat stuff, you know, like if they're dirty, I'll go over that. You can give them a bath. The one thing you really, really want to make sure about is that you please cut their toenails. As a judge, I see a lot of animals, not a lot, some. I see some animals that have really long nails, and it makes their toes curl, and it's not comfortable for them. And if they're young and have sharp nails, they can scratch the judges. So please cut your nails, cut the nails on the pigs. So let me show you how I do that. And since I have him now, we'll start with him. So when I go to cut my piggy's nails, I literally just hold them up against me, and they feel secure. They're not going anywhere, and that, you know, their back legs just kind of hang there. Take little toenail clippers. This is I got it a show. You can, for guinea pigs, since their nails are not that big, you can use human nail clippers, toe clippers, it's fine. Now he's got dark nails, so what you want to do is just take the tip off, because if you cut too close, he could bleed. Now, if by chance you cut too close and they bleed, it's not going to kill them. It's sad. I always feel sad when I do it, but they're not, I've never had anyone have dire consequences of me clipping them too close. So, and it would be better to do their nails like a couple weeks before the show, trim them a little, and then right before the show, trim them a little more. So again, you just want to, so you can see how he's got little pointy nails. So you just want to take a little bit of the tip off, just like that. Okay, so once you do the back feet are always the easiest. So then I kind of just like that. So I'm holding him securely. He's not going anywhere. He feels secure. And then I've got his little front feet out. Now, the front toenails often, they don't always need cut. They don't tend to grow as quickly. So, and I'm kind of blind, so I put my glasses up a little so I can really see the little tips. So you can just take the little tips off. His are really not that long. I'm just taking the little tips off just to show. But again, you just kind of have a hold of his little foot with your fingers and do the same with the other. Just carefully taking the little tips off. And he did so good. There we go. Okay. So once the nails are done, it's very important, then we can look at we can look at the cleanliness of the animal and if they have any parasite issues. I'm going to go over that too. So looking at him, okay, so he is a black silver martin cavy, American cavy. So a lot of his points are on the markings, and we're not here to talk about how to judge him, but I'm just pointing that out. So, and he has a nice white belly. He's actually a very nice silver martin that I bought from a friend. Now, as I was looking at him today, I realized that he's not real dirty, but he's a little dirty. He could use a bath. With your short-haired cavies, you absolutely can bathe them. You don't necessarily have to. It really depends on the cavies. Some cavies they stay pretty clean, and you can simply just wipe them down. So I'm going to show you. You can just take a cloth, take a rag, and just spritz some water and a little damp cloth, and then just run the cloth over the cavy. And that'll kind of pull out loose hair. That kind of gets some dust out. Yeah, oh, he is feeling better already. If you feel like your cavy really is kind of dirty, has gotten dirty, or if they're a boar, sometimes their scent gland is back here, and they'll get some sticky stuff there. Now he doesn't really have a lot of that, but you know, if they're dirty, you can give them a bath. With all of your short-haired cavies, you can bathe them up to like the day before the show. That's fine. The exception are your Abyssinians. If you have an Abyssinian, and let me just quickly show you an Abby. Okay, here's an Abby. He's not a great one, but he is an Abby. So see, he has the little rosettes on his body, rosettes and ridges. Okay. This is Josiah. Okay, with your Abyssinians, the texture, oh, he's trying to leave. The texture of the coat is to be harsh, and so that the ridges stand up. If you have an Abyssinian, please do not bathe them right before the show. You will ruin the coat texture, and they will be super soft, and they will not show well. Abyssinians really generally don't need to be bathed, and they shouldn't be bathed. The key is to keep a super clean cage, so you don't need to bathe them. If you have an Abyssinian that's gotten very dirty, bathe them a couple weeks before the show so that their coat has time to kind of gain that harshness back. So I just wanted to show you that. And okay, so here I have, before we get to some more grooming things, I have another little foot thing to show you. Okay, so this is a lilac roan American, and she has what is called foot calluses. Now, these typically grow on the front feet. I've never seen them on a rear foot. So let me show you. Okay, so it's a little hard to see, but hopefully you can. So there's her little front foot. And if you look on the side, I know. Look on the side. She's not happy. Okay. See that little bit? There we go. See that little brown thingy coming off? It's a growth of the foot pad. It's a callus. So like there's her little foot pad, and there's the little callusy growth right there. So that's like a foot callus. As they grow, hers isn't too long, but as they grow, of course, they're going to eventually curl up. That is something that you would want to take off. And it's real easy. I have a little tiny pair of sewing scissors I use for this purpose. So you just take your little pig and hold her little foot, and then you just snip it off like that. Hopefully you saw that. Now, she still has a little bit of it on her foot. I'm not going to cut it super close. I'm going to cut it a little closer. Okay, there we go. So I just cut it a little bit closer, but she still has a little bit of the callus there. Hopefully you can see it. And that's okay. She can have a little bit of the callus. And she's got one on her other side too, so I'm going to just take that other one off too. And again, oh, maybe you can see that one a little better. Yeah, all of you guys can see it. Hopefully you can. So there, again, there's a little bit of a callus there. It's coming off her bottom, her outside foot pad. And I'm just going to snip it off. There we go. So, and it's just dead skin, like literally it's just a little bit of dead skin. She didn't even feel it, and now it's gone. So that would make her ready for show. Okay. Okay. All right, so here's my guy who I already tagged, my silver solid. Now, I am going to cut his nails real quick to show you again. You just hold them up. Snip, snip, snip. Snip, snip, snip. And usually when they're being held like this, Cavies don't mind. This is not hurting them. And they feel pretty held. Ooh, okay, I got that one a little close, but he didn't bleed. Okay, and his front feet are fine. Okay, so now I'm going to show you. Another thing you want to look for on your cavies is parasites. Now, some people get all freaked out about parasites. Parasites are pretty common on cavies. White lice is the most common thing, and they can pick them up from other animals. They can pick them up from bedding sometimes. So even if you're really clean and take really good care of your cavies, they may still end up with lice, and it's not a big deal. It's very easily treated. So when I was pulling him out for demonstration today, I realized that indeed he has the white lice. So I want to show you what it looks like. So when you part the hair, as you can see, I'm parting the hair, I'm blowing in it. You can see little tiny, they're whitish little lice. No, I don't. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to move my camera actually. Let's see if I can show you this way. Okay. The place you often see them is over the back. Is the most common part. Trying to get a good. And if you look at his back, he's got like a V. He's got some hair loss. And that is often a sign of the lice. Come here, come here. For some reason, the lice like to go over the back. Okay, oh, there we go. I hope you can see it. No, probably not. Oh, there we go. So I don't know if you can see it, but if you look, there's little crawling things. So if you look at your cavie and there are little crawling things, then those are lice. One way to deal with this is pyrethrin spray. It's for birds. This is what I've been using for a long time. birds are very sensitive to chemicals, and so I was told long ago, like, if this isn't going to hurt a bird, it won't hurt a cavie. So it's mite and lice spray, bird spray. The active ingredient is pyrethrin. And to do this, you just simply, okay. So if you need to treat your little guy, you just spray down the back. So here we go, I'm spraying him. So I just spritz him a little, and then I just kind of rub it in like that. Yeah, it smells a little funky. And then I will typically go ahead and rub a little on the belly too. Now, as you can see, his belly hair is fine. The parasites don't tend to affect hair loss on the belly so much. I've noticed it's really over the back is where you will see it. So there we go. So you just do that to treat the bugs. And you want to spray them and then wait a couple days, check them again, spray them again. You may need to spray a couple of times, but generally that's going to get rid of those little parasites really, really good. Okay. So if you need to bathe your cavie, you can simply bathe them in baby shampoo or in any kind of, like, whatever shampoo you use for your hair is pretty much fine for them. Because they have hair, not fur like rabbits. So, you know, our hair products work for them as well. Okay, so we covered the parasites. So bathing, like I said, if you're going to do it for most of your short hair breeds, you can do it like the day before the show or a couple days before the show. Once you've bathed them, make sure you put them in a really clean cage, because you want your hard work not to go for naught. Put them in a real clean cage. And as far as the day of the show, like I said, you can use a damp cloth. You can also use like a paper towel. And it's the same thing. You just kind of make it damp. And then you just want to rub down the cavie, removing the loose hair, any dust or dirt that's gotten on them. Just like that. Okay, so once they're physically all ready. So at this point, you know, you've tended to their nails, they're in good flesh condition, they're clean. So now you want to practice some handling. Okay, so the cavie is posed, is to be presented in kind of a natural position. So the little feet should be kind of naturally underneath them. They can, as you see, I'm kind of lifting them up to lift up at the shoulders a little bit so you see their crown. Some cavies sit right up and just look so beautiful. He's not sitting too badly. He's a little out of condition, so he's a little rough over the hips. But that's basically how you want him to sit. It's important, if you're going to take your cavie to a show, that you handle them ahead of time. And I realize that this is a 4-H presentation, so most of you kids handle your animals a lot, and that's great. That's really great. If you have a new animal that you haven't handled a lot, then before the show, at least get them out every day for a few minutes, just a few minutes. Don't stress them out, so that they get used to being handled. You know, the judge is going to pick them up like this and turn them over. So practice doing that to your cavie so that they get accustomed to that. And I know as the judge, I pick them up like this. Then I hold their little head like that to look at their teeth. So again, I do this to your cavie so they get used to it. And then I run my finger down the throat, look for lumps, and my finger down the belly, check their gender, and then put them back over. I know, you're being good. Now this guy has not been handled a whole lot, and he's doing pretty well. Cavies settle very quickly. I've found that to be the case. Even if they're a little bit flighty as youngsters, if they're handled just even a little bit, they settle right down. When you handle them, you want to be as calm as possible. If you're really agitated or upset, then they're going to sense that and they might get more agitated. So when you're handling them, just, you know, be relaxed, take a deep breath, and then handle them. And they'll usually be quite nice. So he's just sitting there. And you might want to, move them and repose them, move them around, repose them a little bit, just so that they get used to being moved around and being handled. The other thing you might want to do is take your cavie on a little trip. If you're going to take them to a show, obviously that's not going to be at your house. So they're going to have to travel somewhere. Most cavies are pretty okay with traveling. They don't get extremely stressed, but it never hurts to take them on a short little trip before you actually have to take them to a show. So to do that, let me show you. Okay, so here is a traveling cage. Here's a carrier. And this happens to be a 2-hole carrier. And you just put the cavies in the holes, and then you take them with you. So when you do this, this helps them get used to being in a different cage that they're going to travel to in the show. And it gets them used to going in a car, the sights and sounds and smells of the car, and then going to a new location, and then being handled there. So you can take them on a trip somewhere. Now, obviously, it's real hot now, so don't take them anywhere. Don't leave them in the car. But if you can take them to a location different than your house, a short trip, or a trip equivalent to what you're going to be taking them to your show, then they get used to going in the car, take them to the new location, get them out. There'll be some new sights and smells and sounds. Handle them there a little bit, pose them up wherever you're going. You can take a towel or a carpet with you to kind of pose them up and make them, pretend that they're at a show, pretend that you're the judge, or have somebody else handle them for just a few minutes so they get used to somebody else handling them. And then you put them back in their carrier, and then you take them home. If they show any extreme signs of stress, then you might not want to show them. I've only had that happen a couple of times in, I don't know, decades here, where I've had a cavie that I took to a show when they were young, and they seemed so upset by it that I'm like, I'm not going to do this again. Most of them, they're fine with it. Some of them even really enjoy it. I have older animals that I think truly enjoy going to shows and enjoy traveling. They do not appear stressed. So that is what I wanted to cover. Let's see what my time's looking like. Okay. So that's what I wanted to cover. If anybody has questions, I welcome any questions, or if there's something else you would like to see demonstrated on handling or grooming, I'd be happy to do that.
All righty, thank you, Faith. Facebook runs about 20 seconds behind, so I might just ask one question here to give everybody time to chime in. For the rabbit person that might be watching this, is there anything that we're used to do when we're grooming our rabbits, preparing them for show? Are there any no-nos that we shouldn't carry over to the cavie side of things? Not in particular. I'm just trying to think of the things I know people do for grooming their rabbits. I mean, most people I know kind of spritz them down with water and hand groom them. That's fine. You can do that with cavies. No, there's really not. There's not anything that you'd have to watch for that. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, Amanda, has anybody chimed in with their locations or questions or anything?
Yes, they have. We have people that are watching in from Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, New Jersey, Illinois, Ontario, and Oregon are what I'm seeing right this moment. I do have some questions that are popping in here. One is, what product do you use to spray your cavie with for parasites?
That is, it's just whatever brand. I go to the pet store and I go in the bird section. This is mite and lice spray for birds. And the active ingredient is pyrethrin. So if you look at, I just always look and make sure it says pyrethrin on the bottle, and then that's what I use.
And then, is Ivermectin safe for pregnant sows?
Let me think. I believe no. It's not for sure. I think that's the one that it's like cautioned against. So that's why I like this, because you can use this on any age, little babies, because it's not as much of a anti-parasitic. So with the ivermectin, check with a vet for sure about, or a vet trained person for sure about that. I generally use this, or I've been using Revolution or one of those products that you put behind the ears. I will use this on any pig. I avoid all the other parasites if somebody's like heavily pregnant, just to be on the safe side. And the same with like newly nursing sows. I don't treat them for parasites, not with anything, not with Revolution or Ivermectin. Again, if it's, if needed, I'll spray them with this. But typically I try to avoid chemicals, at the end of pregnancy and the beginning of nursing.
Okay, at this current time, those are the questions that I have. I'll just note on there, like when we teach KB shows around here, a lot of them have cage coverings on their carriers. Can you go into that?
Yes, the cage coverings are for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's temperature. If it is chilly out, the cavies are sensitive to cold. Unlike rabbits who love the cold, cavies do not love the cold. So cavies are more warmer weather animals. So if it's, a chilly spring or fall or winter morning, then your cavie people are going to cover their carriers to keep the temperature more constant. A lot of people keep their cavies in their house or in their basement. I have mine in an attached garage. So cavies are used to being pretty climate controlled typically. So the coverings are first of all, for temperature, and it's also to help them not get startled, and sometimes to keep poking fingers out. Some people like to wander around and touch animals that aren't theirs. So I think some people have the covers just so that people don't see and don't try to get in the cages. Typically, as the show gets going, people take the covers off, or at least just have them laying on the top. And obviously, if it's really warm, then sometimes you won't even see the covers on. But that's a good question.
For someone that's a rabbit person that's basically trying to get used to or wanting to get into cavies,
Yeah.
Are there any recommendations for a color or a coat type for a breeder to start with?
That's a great question. I generally advise people to start with a short hair breed, simply because then you don't have to maintain a coat. I do not have any long hairs in coat. I have a few long hairs still, but they're all in breeding, so they're all short coated. With your long haired animals, you have to eventually wrap the hair and keep the hair in wraps. And that's a whole lot of work. Now, my caveat to that, though, is if somebody is really has a strong passion for, they want a long-haired guinea pig, I'm not going to tell them no. I'm going to warn them that this is a lot of work and here's what you're going to have to do. They need to be brushed and combed and groomed, daily, every other day at the least, checking for mats, checking to make sure that the coat's not being damaged. As they get about intermediate age, you're going to have to start wrapping the coat, rear wraps, side wraps.
I'm sorry about that. I went to try to mute Terry and I muted you instead. I apologize.
That's fine. I saw the little thing come up on the screen. So I will explain to them what they will need to do to maintain this coat in order to show it. Now, if the person is really still, yes, I really want a long hair, I'm not going to tell them no, but I will advise just get one. Just get one baby long hair, grow it up, grow it out, and see how that is. Like, don't get a whole bunch and start breeding them. with short-haired animals, I generally advise new people to start with short hair, and Americans are just the easiest, and they're the most around. You can find Americans of various color fairly easily, as opposed to, say, white crested. Yeah, good luck finding showable white crested, although they are beautiful. And the same with Abyssinians. It's difficult to find really showable, great quality abbeys to have the right rosettes and pattern, whereas you can find nicely showable Americans. As far as color, again, you got to like what you take care of every day. A solid color, a self color is the simplest. So black, white, red, red and cream can be a little challenging in their quality of color. But like a white American has no color faults, it's white. So that's certainly very simple. However, if you want a patterned animal, if you want a broken colored, or tortoiseshell and white American, then that's fine. And just make sure especially if you're only going to have one to show, then please go to, do your research, look around, ask around, check your standard, find out what you're really looking for. Don't just go get something that's cute, because it's not going to do well on a show table. So if you go to a reputable breeder, even if you're, say, looking for broken colors, that's a challenging variety, but there are some excellent breeders of that color that have excellent animals that go best of breed and best in show. So it is possible. Do your research ahead of time and find something that is pretty close to the breed standard. And like I said, the standard of perfection is you can get one from ARBA, and every breed of guinea pig has a standard, and all the color descriptions are in the background. They are in the back, and they explain what you're looking for, distribution of color, quality of color. And if you find an animal that, pretty well matches that, then there you go. As far as breeding goes, so if you're just buying an animal to show, if you find a well-patched broken color, then you're good. There you go. Take them to the show. If you're talking about breeding, it's going to be more challenging to breed, say, broken colors than it is white Americans. So now you can, if you get good stock in broken colored Americans, you can have some very attractive babies and do just fine with that. Generally, an agouti is another color, very pretty. It's not too terribly difficult with the Americans. Solids, you saw I have a silver solid American. The solids are also silver solid, golden solid, dilute solids. There are some around. They're not, they have their challenges, but they're not extremely difficult. But short hair tends to be the easiest thing to start with, and really based on what you can find in your area is also a big consideration. If you can't travel the country looking for guinea pigs, then you really also need to consider, well, the breeders in my area, what do they have and what can they help me get started with? And that's the best way to do it if you have somebody that's going to help you and mentor you and get you some good starter stock and help you along.
I have a question on here. Does cavies have pedigrees like rabbits do?
Yes, they do. Okay. Yes, of course they do. They can. And it is often very common that they are sold without them. This is a personal bugaboo of mine. And I've spoken to over the years that some cavie breeders say they don't keep pedigrees, or they don't offer them with the animals they sell. I really don't understand this. Personally, this makes no sense to me. If you're breeding animals, I think it's responsible and appropriate to have a pedigree. Now, I understand if you started without pedigrees, then you're not going to have full pedigrees on animals you're selling. But if you have the parents of the animal you're selling, you should at least offer a partial pedigree. Like, you should give the new owner the pedigree, that the information for the parents or the parents and grandparents, even if you don't have all 3 generations. So I'm seeing, there was a time 10 to 20 years ago, pedigrees were very common with Cavies, and then they kind of fell out of commonality, and now they're kind of back and kind of not. It depends who you talk to. So the good side is, even if you start without pedigrees, it doesn't take too long. You know, within a couple years, you can have full pedigrees. And I've had to do that a lot with a lot of the colors and breeds I've worked with in my Cavies. And I now have full pedigrees because every animal on there is something that I have raised, unfortunately. So I do wish Cavie people in general would get more consistent and would be more, to me, that's being professional. And I think if we want to be taken seriously, then we need to be serious, and you need to keep records, and you need to offer that information to people you're selling animals to.
Okay, Amanda, any more questions right now?
Give me 1 second.
Okay, well, it sounds like she's got a fire run outside of her house.
Yeah, I'm back now. I live right beside a fire department, so they were just dispatching out. So I kind of have to hear sirens everywhere. But anyways, I only have one thing on here, and it shows that somebody is watching us from Australia.
Wow.
Wow.
Give a comment, so I'm gonna go back on mute because they're still dispatching.
Okay, while Amanda's on mute, let me go ahead and talk a little bit on a couple other topics, and we'll come back in to Faith here and Amanda. As I said, this is the first of 2 Cavie presentations in a row. As we said today, we're having Judge Faith Storms on Preparing Your Cavies to Show. Now, coming up on July the 15th at 7 p.m., we'll be moving up to Ontario, Canada, and seeing Judge Mary Lou Eisel. And she's going to be talking on cavies, husbandry, and nutrition. So I think these 2 kind of go hand in hand a little bit there. So we've got 2 awesome cavie presentations, I think. And I would like to remind everybody that these videos are being recorded, and they'll be put on our District 8 YouTube channel, and that's called ARBA D8 website. So if you give Amanda a few days, she'll get this transitioned over and put on YouTube. So if you need to go back and look at any of these workshops, feel free to stop in on our YouTube channel and watch those. And along with those, we have a variety of videos from our last year's workshops, and those are actually our live events that were recorded prior to some shows. So feel free to check that as well. Amanda, are you available now?
Oh, yes, I am.
Okay.
I used to live, the firehouse used to live, or they moved the firehouse recently at our house, around us, so they now dispatch and we hear them instead of them being really close to us. And we don't hear them, we didn't hear them then. But anyways, I have no other questions. So I think I don't have any more questions.
Okay, Faith, I really want to thank you. Awesome job. I've never seen tag put in a cavie ear before, so that was really something eye-opening for me. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It was an awesome job, and we appreciate you. I do want to give a few more thank yous out there. Of course, thank you to Faith. Thank you to my awesome District 8 web team. That's Amanda at the Control Center, Amanda Behe. She works with us. A lot of times we do some training sessions before. She may work on some slides. She does the switchboard, you might say, here during our events, and she does the same thing for her 4-H club. Also, I have Jane Burt. She's not only our webmaster and our newsletter editor here in D8, but she also does the promotional flyers. So we appreciate Jane's efforts as well. And of course, I want to thank everybody that watches these videos. You're the reason we do those. Until we begin our live events again, we're going to keep on doing these video versions until hopefully things come back a little more positive in the real world. So with that, Amanda, anything else before we sign off today?
Yes, I do. How often do you handle a young cavie before show?
I would recommend handling them every day a little bit so that they get used to it, at least every other day. Like I said, it's amazing how quickly even a kind of wild little baby settles down. If you just hold them and sit with them, you can just sit with them, put like a towel in your lap and let them just sit with you for a few minutes every day. Once they're used to you and kind of calm just being held, then you can start putting them on a table and posing them. The posing, you don't have to do that right away. You just want them to get used to being handled by a person and being around people and noises and talking. And once they're settled, then you can start posing them.
All right. I want to thank everybody for being here today. As I said, Faith, awesome job. We appreciate you joining us today. Thanks again to the web team. Thank you to everybody for joining us. Please remember, July 15th, 7 p.m., we'll be doing Cavie session number 2 in a row, and that'll be Mary Lou Eisel. Stay safe, everybody, and we hope to see you back on the 15th. Bye-bye.